Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Shane Bowen and I'm from the Evolution of Fatherhood. Hello, Rory. How are you, mate? I was going to introduce you in a second with in regards to the introduction, but it's all great, mate. I'm glad to see you here. How are you?
Yeah, good, Shane. Always good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, mate, because I know we've established a relationship for a long time and over what 6 or 7 years now, and we've been you've been an amazing part of my journey. I know that much because moving to another country and having my sons in Australia, and you're actually, you remind me so much of my son. It was kind of like it made it all so much easier with you there, and you hosting retreats and walking the talk and doing what you do. I feel a kind of an ownership, a kind of like a proud dad kind of moment as
Oh
well. So
man, it's like, I grew up without a father, dude. So it's like you always like that like masculine figure that was like, you're doing so well. And I'm like, am I? I'm like, okay, keep going. So it's really good to have that synergy.
mate, then this is what this call's all about, about this evolution of fatherhood. And and I wouldn't go as far as to say surrogate. I just think that as humans, we feel the need and we step in. It just organically shows up when you're on your path. The support, just comes. I mean, I've heard you say before that we don't really need anyone. Well, you don't need anyone.
Be
You've got as
fixed.
much yourself, right? Yeah. So,
No, but
but
we do like connection, man, is the key. Is like you look at half the stuff we deal with these days, and it goes back to mother wounds and father wounds, the environments we grew up in, and the communities we grew in, the villages that support us growing up. We either like have a really beautiful foundation, or we get disconnected from it, and then we have to find our own family and our own community over time, and male role models that that really hold the character and the values of the type of man that we want to become as kids, as young men, and that kind of rite of passage. So I guess that's what we're doing today, right? We've got a couple of different
yeah.
generations here,
Yep.
and hopefully we can inspire some people to get around this vibe, or to be that for the other men in their life.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are watching on the live stream and the people that will watch the recording, I'm sure that what I've known, what I've found in my past, in my history, my experience is that the information shows up when the student's ready, right? So this may
Always.
be something that somebody might watch in a year's time and go, "Oh my gosh, this is so awesome," right? Because we're creating this community to specifically help fathers move into this AI of technology, this new age of AI and technology. And what I'm seeing is that the gaps in the process, like this pathway to fatherhood, right? And I'm like going, okay, so there's a problem right there with the pathway to a manhood, sorry, the pathway to manhood from, this 12-year-old. And we have a lot of, these girls' period parties and all that sort of stuff that have their rite of passage, right? When they become of age. But we don't kind of have that for men. I mean, there is some things, they're locational and they're like, but they're very fragmented. So I'm looking to create something that's more mainstream, that every person can get a hold of and use, and have their own kind of pathway to manhood as well as have some retreats and stuff like that where we actually get together as men, and we enable the boys to have a pathway so that they can be the humans that we know they can be, right? And with you and me, Rory, I know that they would really get a lot out of our experiences, right? Because I just know, that you just know, right, that there's a beauty that comes with anybody that comes into the circle of us two sharing what we're doing. It speaks volumes to where we're going evolutionary wise.
Yeah, and I guess my big thing is about lifestyle medicine, and
Yes.
technology allowed me to free my time and my location, and to really leverage technology to actually have more time to do the things I love, to write the book, to fly home and be there for my family when they need them, to just wipe my calendar off for 12 months and to really show up even at the most inconvenient time for the people I care about, and I think this is what, technology is when it's used for good. Like it actually enables us to, I'm sitting in Bali, I know you're in Bali too, but, I can have a conversation with anyone anywhere around the world, and this can reach anyone anywhere in the world. So now you know, I imagine myself as a young man tuning into, you know, someone like yourself or someone like to me, like, oh, wow, there's like a dude that grew up with a father, you know, he went and did the traditional thing, and, you know, now he's living in Bali and he uses technology to free his time. He's used it to make money. And now he wants to share some of that with me. And then hopefully, you know, if I become a father one day, like, I know that'll come in its own time. It's like, I don't want to have, you know, 60 out of my 168 hours a week, you know, doing like meaningless work. You know, I want to do something that I love. I want to leverage, you know, what's available and use tech to free my time so that, you know, I can take my kids surfing, or, you know, I can, you know, take my partner on that random adventure at any moment, you know what I mean? And then still be able to keep things ticking over because I've got Zoom and, you know, I've got all these, you know, I've got online platforms and online courses, and, you know, I can link people into retreats through learning spaces and then show up for 2 weeks a year and create an experience where everyone gets to embody it and share it, you know, when they go back home with their own front doorstep, you know. So I think there's a lot of synergy here, man. And if dads and kids can get together and, you know, play with this, you know, you might even find there's a lot of young kids out there that probably are more tech snazzy than their dads, and they can learn how to use AI to actually free their dad's time up and make their business more profitable. So
well, that's funny you should say that, because that's exactly what I've been, because it kind of levels the playing field, right? Like your dad's doing his thing and building, and he's wanting to get more time. And a lot of dads that I speak to, they're just trying to free up their time. And then these kids come along that are like, you know, natives to this AI technology, and they're like going, well, I can help here. Like, and then, so it's not this God almighty dad and this kid without, you know, trying to find his way. It levels the playing field, because I can help you, Dad. I can help you get this AI stuff sorted, so we can do some stuff. So Rory, I want to go. I want to dive deep into your, you know, AI and lifestyle medicine. I want to just do a quick introduction to the call, and just like because there's a couple of slides that I need to cover as a kind of a base for this for this call, and then I'm going to call you back on. Would that be okay if I can just do this presentation, and then I'll bring you back on in a second, probably a few minutes, and then we'll go through the whole, you know, be ready for me, because I'm all ears, mate. I'm all ears. Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And let's go here. So here's the introduction on the evolution of fatherhood. I want to make a big shout out to the women out there. The, you know, mothers, sisters, and wives and daughters are the 4 natural elements of any relationship between men and women. So for me, that means that, you know, there's not one without the other. You know, this evolution of fatherhood is not just about, you know, men being, you know, isolated. It's about men joining with women. So I have, you know, women on the calls. I have women's opinions on a lot of things. I always run it past my closest female friends, and make sure that, you know, that it's all, you know, that it fits in with what the descriptive of what in my heart center is, and how it goes across. So I just want to put that out there, that this is about honoring women, and this is about, you know, being the man that you can be to honor that woman as well, right? So that is an important part for me. This call is all about men supporting each other. There's a place for us to support each other, but this is directed for AI. Okay, so we want to make sure that we know there's a big escalating technology curve coming, and it's going to affect a lot of people. It's going to affect probably men, probably the most, as they're the predominant people in the workplace. And it will, you know, this is where we can come together as a community and support one another. And if we spend a little bit of time every Thursday just maybe focusing on this AI topic, and then we can learn together, and we can create a nice community of support where we can, you know, transition this time together as a community. So that's what that's all about. Now, I want to talk to you about last week. We talked to Slade about his you know, his journey, and how he's his, you know, Beers, Bongs and Babes podcast that he does each week. And it's all about him healing from his pathway to manhood, and how he's, you know, during COVID, he went through, it was like crucial time for him, you know, during his development, where his dad was in Bali and he was in, you know, back in hometown in Australia, and how he, you know, he went through this period of just like, you know, self-abuse and, you know, depression and all that sort of stuff, and how he's come out the other side, and now he's looking back and going, I want to fix this. I want to fix this for the you know, the young men out there, right? So what I suggested to him on the call was that I could show him some technology that brings in AI that can help him to create something that would help those kids. Okay, so what I did was I found this. Well, Adalo is an app, an AI powered app online, right? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just go to my page here. Yep, we're live streaming. That's good. And if I go to the Adalo app, I want to show you. So this is what I've done. I've just like put together a evolution of fatherhood. Now, this is what Slade will do. He will come into the Adalo app, and you just take one photo that you have that you like, and then just set it up. And it's like an open page of just options. So you just go in step by step. It takes a bit of mind to follow each step, but as you go through, you find step by step people register, or they if they've registered or they need to open an account. Then it goes to the part where they log in if they've got an account ready. So it just goes through step by step. So, but it's free. So what Slade I suggested with Slade that we partner together and do an app together for the pathway to fatherhood, pathway to manhood for young boys. So in that sense, there's a way of having people, do their, he can have like an app that he can take to his friends and say, like if you're going through something like this, here's the steps that I went through that would be really beneficial for you if you're, in that space and wanting to do that. So what do you think about that, Rory? You reckon that's like feeding back to the young guys and empowering them as well to find these free things that can help them move through, right?
Blows me away. Like it's like I'm even like thinking I've got this like course which is like an 8-step pathway, and I'm like, I can turn that into an app, and this is a really cool thing because it's like, I actually mentored a young kid who was about 19 and helped him kind of like run the entrepreneur processes that we used to teach, and basically go from, working with someone and then building his own business, own brand, getting his first 5 clients, and then take himself out of the business and replacing himself, and it was interesting because it's like I was his mentor for 3 or 4 years until he was like 22, and he sent me this like empty calendar. And I was like, bro, what is that? And he's like, oh, do you remember how you told me that your definition of success was when you had enough resources, you had an empty calendar, you had all your time? And I was like, yeah, wow. I do. He's like, I figured that out. He's like, got an empty calendar, I'm making 20 grand a week. And like he was in the social marketing, and we just aligned him with, doing something that was like, it was grow it right media. So it was all passion, purpose aligned. He only worked with businesses that had a product that he wanted to magnify because he was getting like 3-4x returns on Instagram. And that was huge back then, like 1.2. I was like, dude, like I'm working with people that are spending $100,000 and getting like 1.3x. You're getting 4x, man. Like, and then I actually, came back to him probably about a year or 2 years later, and I was like, bro, can you mentor me? Like that tech. So
yeah.
like my 19-year-old friend is now, he gave me all the systems that I built, all this stuff I'm going to show you today. And it's like, this is, I think, for the dads and the egos and the men out there, is like, don't be scared of these young kids. Because like, I looked at this young guy, Cam, and I was like, he was the first generation that was born in a time where it was like that period. I think it was like, what was it, like 95 or something. I'm like, this is the first generation that won't even remember a time where smartphones and internet didn't exist. Like for them, it's like I'm 87. So I'm like, I'm in that kind of like transitional thing. So I can still remember a time where we didn't have internet or like a mobile phone. Like I was in that period, but now it's like, it's like this generation, they don't know any difference. So the way that their brain works and expands and connects the dots, it's like playing Mario Kart, they're so much smarter than us for this. So dads, listen to your kids.
But this is it. It's the level playing field, right? It's like, how do we add value and make our parents, how can we connect with our parents, and this is the way we can upskill each other by doing these things together. So I'm just really, really excited about that, Rory, and thanks for that. I'm going to go back into the presentation, and so Adalo was the app that I was recommending to go and get a free. The also thing with Adalo is that you can go, it's a free app. So if you've got something to do with your business and you want to just create an app, because a lot of people spend a lot of money on building apps that don't do anything, right? Build an app for free, take it to the market, see if people use it. If they use it, then you can develop it more. So it'll save you a bunch of money. Okay, but for Slade, let's watch out for his pathway to fatherhood, a pathway to manhood. All right. So here's our presentation with Rory. So awesome, mate. I just wanted to, I've known you for 6-7 years. You're a health practitioner. You live in Bali, you live the dream, you've got, you live and walk the talk, right? There's no fluff about you. You've got like, you're doing what you live, what you speak. You sound a lot and look alike, and your mannerisms like my son. So you've got me in already. You've got like the community and groups that I'm a part of. I'm just watching you grow and build an empire, and I'm just so proud, to be part of your existence, right? Or your empire will be, I'll just take, so much pride in that as well. So I'm rooting for your success. Amazing job. So, Rory, future of lifestyle medicine. I just did a quick little bit of research, and this is what Gamma gave me as a Gamma App. It's an AI powered tool, right? It says the future of AI and lifestyle medicine. It's robotics and AI. It's neural networks, like your Elon's neural net, where you're overlaying your brain with some neural net, and there's health tracking and powered apps. Now, I'm thinking that robotics and AI are probably a little bit too far out of the range for us, but I'm thinking that and neuro net's a little bit further out as well. But health and tracking, I think that's something that's well and truly on board. I use my Apple Watch every day. So how do you go with yours? So take it away, Rory. Show me what you've got.
Well, do you want me to just show you some stuff and
whatever you got? Well, I want to bring in the AI stuff, but I want to understand from
I'm literally just going to show you how I'm using AI now.
It's perfect.
So, I spent 8 years writing a book. I was a health professional that burnt out at about 26. I had my dream job. I was working with elite athletes in Australia, the AFL system. Built programs, screening programs that are still getting used with the kids, 10 years later. I think it's impacted over 10,000 kids. So for me, it's always been about impact and creating things that are evergreen. I got really, I realized that the one-on-one thing is where I burnt out. I just didn't have enough hours in a week. So when I stepped out of the health care system, I realized that I wanted to be part of the solution, which is like enabling, empowering, personalizing, reminding, creating communities. And then that way, healthcare gets to come in, more for the immediate care, the emergency care, the testing when things are a little bit off, it's something to complement rather than to replace, or, give people medication and things like that. Because ultimately it's like, we're basically plants with, more complex like neurocortexes and emotions and things like that, so we need water, we need air, we need sunlight. And somehow we've been convinced to sit in these little boxes and sit in a chair behind a computer for like 8 hours a day. So I just wanted to really talk into that. And I guess, being a young entrepreneur, like I grew up with a single mom, no one in my family built businesses. So I've had to go out there and spend $500,000 like being in the networks and getting paid to learn, like in Roger's network, as I got to look underneath the bonnets of 100 or nearly 1,000 businesses, right? So I got to really be curious. So I'm going to give you all the 8 years of experience looking under the bonnets of 1,000 businesses, and where I am today. And where I am at now is a blank canvas, because what I realize is like that is all good, but what is happening in the future? It's like, what is possible to even create an app like that one link that you shared, Shane? That's one of many. There's these things are popping out all the time. So what actually happens is technology should actually become simpler and more cost effective rather than the opposite way around. Because if we've got these open source platforms, we've got AI, like it should be able to make things easier and easier and easier. And we should be using technology to save our time. It doesn't mean it's going to replace our jobs or our roles. It just means we get to work on a more high end and then let the technology kind of do the heavy lifting for the most part. It doesn't take away the creation. It doesn't create the human emotion. It doesn't take away community. We can't replace that, but we can definitely use it for a lot of other stuff. So I'm just going to give you an example of how I use it with the self-care book. So I wish I had this a long time ago, but actually, in hindsight, if I had AI, I probably would have written a completely different book, to be honest. And it probably would have only taken me a couple of years, maybe even a year. But when I talk about technology, the first concept is there's 12 medicines, and the first medicine, like nature, is our primary stakeholder, and it should be in every business. It should be in our life. If you're not connected to nature, then it's like a flower trying to grow in the pavement of a city. It can do it and get resilient, but it's not going to thrive. And then the last medicine is technology, which is funny because technology is an extension of nature. Like my laptop, like my mobile device, it all comes from from nature. You know, it's like the elements of the earth that are just configured in a way that we can do this type of stuff. So I want to always like bring it back to that. I'll quickly run through, you know, we define technology as medicine. There's some key topics, you know, that you can go check out the platform selfcare.global, and you can have a look at this. But you know, we talk about like ways that technology can mimic nature rather than replace it. So biomimicry, solar panels, things like that. How we can connect humans. We've got things like Zoom, peer-to-peer support groups are like huge over the world. Like we created one with my brothers back home, like my mates, and we just use WhatsApp to check in with each other. Like with all the mental health issues and the isolation, we were able to stay connected, send little videos, and like we actually did Zoom calls once a week and had like a men's circle and like just checking in with each other, like how you doing? And you know, in hindsight, it was one of the most powerful things. So we took something that like I was doing here in person in Bali, and then I applied it, and I was able to do it with my friends anywhere in the world. You know, basically green cities, it talks about the downfall, good intentions. You know, you can create technology with a good intention, but realistically, if I spend more than 2 hours like behind this little, you know, virtual screen, I miss the reality that's out here. I miss the connections. I miss the hugs. Mm-hmm. And what we see is for every 2 hours that you spend on technology, after 2 hours, your apathy increases. So you're not caring, not giving a shit about things increases because we become so disconnected from the world in front of us. Our compassion and empathy goes down, which is interesting because it's like compassion, empathy is the solution. You know, we want to like care about that. We want to be able to walk past someone and be like, hey, how can I help? We want to be able to like ask for support and know what we're feeling, but this actually does the opposite. So be really careful, guys. Like, you know, integrate it, but use it in a way that it promotes your well-being. You don't want to be stuck scrolling on social media channels and stuff like hours and hours on end, right? But again, then we got apps to create timers to block it out, put on airplane mode. So again, there's something for everything. Man meets machine. You talked about Neuralinks and Elon Musk and all that type of stuff. Again, good intentions, but so is the plastic bag, and now there's more plastic in the sea. So we just got to be super mindful of the values and the beliefs in which we're creating something. Like, is nature the stakeholder? Is connection the stakeholder? Is having more time with our family like the stakeholder? Is it like these decentralized win-win-win models, or is it very much for profit and for like the 1% that's already got enough money? So we want to use technology in a way where we can distribute resources effectively and easily, you know. And I know there's a lot of really smart people out there doing some cool stuff, you know, even around you know, food and global hunger. You know, there's a team I met last week that turned waste food into these natural supplements and then basically, you know, distribute it around the world really easily. So the 40% food wastage through technology and all this other stuff is now all of a sudden being redistributed to parts of the world that need it. So there's just so much cool stuff that can come out of it. Artificial intelligence in healthcare is something that I write about. So that's a beautiful chapter. It's like basically there's a robot that can diagnose like at 97, 98% accuracy based on the symptoms that are put in, versus like the best kind of like Harvard doctor, which is at like 92 to 96%. You know what I mean? Especially once you add in blood results and other objective measures, like these things are super, super tight. Now, it doesn't mean it takes away the diagnostics of the health professional, but it's like something that might have taken 2 to 3 or 4 like days or sessions to get out, you can actually get in the first session or even in a pre-examination, you know what I mean? So then you can actually come in as a health professional and treat and create a pathway for the actual, you know, challenge that needs to be overcome and get the body back into harmony. So that's a really cool application.
That's fascinating, Rory. That's fascinating.
Yeah. And it's cool because basically these like AI robots can take every single like manual and all these diagnostic manuals and all these symptoms, and like they basically can run through it in like, you know, seconds versus like, you know, I'd have to go back and like get my book, and I'm like, hang on a second, I've got to connect this dot with this dot with this dot. And then like for them, it's like, yeah, it's like, here's the top 3 outcomes, boom, boom, boom. And as a practitioner, I'm like, okay, cool. And here's the other like 3 things that is really unlikely, but, you know, make sure you don't miss it, like the cancers and these, what we call like red flags, right? So decentralization, open source systems, things like that, you know, like that app is a great example of like anyone can build an app now. But also we've got to be mindful of not just creating more noise. But again, if it solves a problem, then people will use it. So if we focus on what the world needs, what we love to do, what we're passionate about, and what we're really good at, then we can apply any passion project to technology and then have a bigger impact. Because one-to-one, I can probably impact 100 or maybe 1,000 people. With technology, like I've been able to impact, 50,000, 100,000 or even more, right? And the big vision for this platform is to impact 1 in 8 people with this type of message. So I'm sitting there going like, well, how can I impact 1 in 8 people? That's like 1 billion people, right? And when I set this vision 8 years ago, it was like, everyone was like, oh, that's stupid, as if you're going to be able to do that. And then today it's like I post a video on longevity with Rich Roll, and it's like, it had 200,000 views. I'm like, that's 200,000 people that have seen the message about longevity. And this guy is running marathons in his, like, I think he's nearly 100, right? And he's still, so then it just breaks down all the beliefs that, as you get older, you can't run and it's too high impact. It's like, well, here's a guy that proves that otherwise. And here's what he'd learned to keep doing that over a period of time. So then all of a sudden belief systems shift, right? And then people start to take their power back. So that's just a really simple example of like, that's the Technology as Medicine chapter. We talk about, we're kind of here, this point of singularity, 2023. So now it's like, when I wrote this, AI hadn't come out yet, right? That's going to be an interesting conversation one day. But now it's like with AI, I'll show you some things in a second. It's going to blow your mind. But it's like all of a sudden, it's like exponential increase over time. Like this technology is just going to, like, each thing is going to build on itself. We've got forward-thinking technology, we've got the human creation with a certain belief system and values. It's like anything is truly possible, right? Because time isn't an issue now. So this is an example. I had a look at that Adelo app as well. But what I'll do is I'll open this up and I'll use like OpenChat AI. I'll grab the self-care platform that I've been building. So on here, it's like what I do is I like to create, I take bits of the book and I just put it out as information. I was like, wow, this is going to take me a lot of time. So I can actually, because it's my original creation, or like the curated consciousness, like no thoughts of my own, let's be honest. But I took 8 years to curate all of this into one space. I can then use ChatGPT, and it's like, if I have a specific topic, that I want to like find something out about, you can get this like $20 a month, and so what was this one? Digital addiction. So I was curious about that. So I asked a question and I was like, oh, just write me a 750 word blog with references on digital addiction. So I did that. This one about what are the leading kind of like technology and wearable apps. So we talked about that before. And it came up with, basically Garmin, Fitbit, Apple Watch, and things like that. So I'm like, cool, these are the 10 that have been most used. I personally love Garmin. That's a really good one. Apple Watch, Fitbit, I've tried them, don't like them. Oura Ring, I heard that's pretty cool. And, so on and so forth. And I use other apps on my phone, like Sleep Cycle.
What about the data storage? What do you think about that? Like the people storing your data about, your health and your regimes and your, where your health is at, that will they use that app? Will they use that data for something else?
Well, I think the privacy component of healthcare is big. It's just something that's always been like something that is your own, you know what I mean? Like
a doctor-patient relationship like that.
Yeah, it's like the privacy and the confidentiality. It's like I can't use patients' names. I can't, use those type of things. I can't share anything that's in that container outside of that. So and again, like here's an example. It's like, I could write what issues are there with patient confidentiality and using AI in patient care as a health professional. And it's be like 750 word summary with references. And like, we're going to see it work in real time, right? So it'll go, okay, cool. Patient confidentiality, introduction, integration of AI, data privacy, security, informed consent, bias and fairness, lack of transparency, accountability and liability, unintended consequences, so the unknown unknowns, continuity of care, consent for treatments, and then a bit of a conclusion. So, I could take that and like as an example, so this is a question that's just come up in real time. And this is cool because I get to dance with the world. And I'm like, okay, well, this this is a question that Shane had. Now I can go look at that. And then what I can do, like if I was to be lazy and just, this guy's creating a lot of information just from this type of stuff and blogs and just playing with SEO, then I can actually go to, like I use a platform called Ghost for my website. I don't use WordPress or anything. This is what my 23-year-old tech buddies gave me. So I'll log into self-care. And then what I can actually do.
Ghost.com, self-care. Oh, so once you log in,
yeah, ghost.org, open source. This is the jam. Like, if you're not using this, guys, like, please do. I'll save you like this. My website was like 20 grand before this per year with all the add-ons and paying people to move stuff around. And now like I can build this. I like literally transferred that website onto this platform by myself in one day. And then,
wow.
Yeah, right.
Saving time, right? Getting time back for the family, getting back to,
right.
being productive. Yep, I love it.
And then like, here's my blog post, boom, done. And that's it. And I can like jump on Canva, another really cool app. And I'm just showing you how quickly I can move with this stuff, right? I've got a lot of like, things that I've got built here. I got someone to make some graphics for me. I can basically, download a graphic. So I'll go say this one. I've got graphics on technology, but I can use this. We'll just go page 1 just so I can show you in real time. And go boom. So that'll download. And then what I can do is come back to here and like say that was the graphic that I wanted. I can use something else, but I'll use download. So I'll just use one of the other banners I've used before. Say this one. Okay, save. Let's not. Okay, let's just use a screenshot just so it's, an example. Boom. That's my spa treatment thing. So I can upload that. I can also grab and go downloads or desktop. And let's go SCG. So grab another thing. So these are all the things that I've made in the past. I can grab, one of these things and I can like, yeah, cool. Here's like 10 steps to do X, Y, Z. And then over here, it's like, well, you need to put in like a headline. So like, I'll take this and be like, I'll use AI and I'll just say something really simple. Like, use this headline and write me SEO optimized excerpt for my blog.
Nice, really good.
It'll just basically give me an excerpt. So now I can save myself a bucket load of time. I can copy that. Take what I need, and then I know it's SEO optimized, so I don't have to like have some SEO optimization genius.
You don't have to do it later after you've, on your website once you upload it, right? Yeah, it's great.
So that's it. So it's like, and then it's like, okay, publish. And then it's, I got to, 300 characters. Yeah. So basically I just have to make that.
You tell the chat. Right? Yeah. It's great. I mean, that's how quick and easy it is to do, to be, that productive, right? Like it's enhancing the situation.
Well, literally I went from like copying, like, basically asking a question on AI, or I could take original content, put it in. I then, basically use, Ghost, and then I upload it, and then I use OpenAI to help with that. The other thing I can do is I can use OpenAI and be like, okay, top 30 Instagram hashtags for this title. Oops. Let's grab the title here. And then it'll give me like, hashtags for Instagram. Now, obviously it's not gonna be perfect, but there's my hashtags, you know what I mean? So then when I do like a blog post, I can ask the same for LinkedIn. I can find trending topics for TikTok. I can learn how to like build a TikTok channel from 1,000 to 10,000. So there's your marketing.
Yep.
I can ask about the top 10 strategies or the people to follow, like any question I have, I can literally use AI. So it's like my little assistant. And then I've got and what I now have is like someone in marketing that I trust who's actually playing the game on the human level. And then I'll use AI to kind of support it, but then I'll use that person to kind of set the plan and guide the process relative to my specific situation. So you can't replace, this is the thing, guys, you can't replace the human component, but you can definitely optimize it and make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, it's like the research has been done for you, even though you've got to do your little due diligence on the content, but it's basically the framework and the foundation is already done, and you've just got to tweak it rather than have to source it, write it, source it, manage it, instigate it all from scratch. It just becomes so much more. So this application that you're using with this AI, is there anything that you've come across that's not currently AI that should be, do you think?
There's so many creative people out there. I'm sure there's a million different applications.
Yeah.
I think all assessment forms should be all the especially in the health and wellness space, these assessment forms should be simple and easy to do, to upgrade, to get the key points. I think the diagnostics, we can obviously use the human expertise, but we can probably move 80% of our time. I think data collection is a big one when used in the right way with those privacy and confidentiality things we've talked about. I think that's really powerful because it can see patterns that you might not see over 5 or 10 or 15 years of seeing a patient, or someone that moves between different places. Again, but it's if you're transparent, you've got nothing to hide, then it's not an issue. But again, it comes up to the individual. I think patient
it's only the data being used inappropriately, right? Once they capture your data and then they sell it to a pharmaceutical company that actually has a vested interest in knowing that your condition is, and then that putting all these things in front of you saying you need this, and then altering reality about it, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing, is we take the lid off and everything's transparent, you know what I mean, for the most part.
Gotcha.
Within certain limits. It's then we have all perspectives. We can figure this out for ourselves. So then we have awareness, we have education, we can learn, and then we can make our own informed decisions. And then it's we're less likely to be manipulated through different information channels and propaganda and fear, like we saw with the pandemic. Everyone was scared of hugging each other and going outside. That shouldn't be able to happen. You know what I mean? One virus is okay, I understand that global pandemics, I don't want to get into that whole thing, but it's the end result was isolating nearly X amount of people and getting them to wear masks. And you look at the pharmacies now, it's there's just no one's buying masks. It's well, what changed in 2 years? Nothing really, but we basically got pushed into a certain belief system that something was out there beyond us, which we're scared about. But if we have the education, the awareness, I was trying to teach people about the virome and 380 trillion viruses in and on our body right now, and to be scared of this one, I'm okay, well, let's do our due diligence, but let's not go into this mass contraction of the entire world and see my mum get locked away for 3 years in her house and come out of it with mental health issues that I then need to go and be there for 3 months to support her with, which actually is detrimental to the overall well-being, because isolation and disconnection is the worst thing for human health. So it was even though it was a good intention, or maybe not, I don't know, it's the outcome was, a lot of people, relationships, I think there's 250% divorce rate in Australia. All these type of things, the mental health issues, the mental health burden went up, the chronic disease burden went up, businesses, so many businesses went under. So I'm unemployment went up to 30-40% in some countries, knowing that every rise in unemployment by 1% increases suicide rates exponentially. So but we can now see this and take all this data and then use that so that doesn't ever happen again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I've got a bit of an analogy about that too. It's from my witnessing, what happened is that progress, if you focus on one thing in progression, right, progress is one thing, and if you focus on one thing like Trump or the pandemic or whatever, it kind of is a one-eyed view of what progress looks like. Progress is a multifaceted thing that moves so many things at the same time, and things have to move. And if it doesn't move, then it doesn't progress. So it's sort of like it has to take everything with it. And it's kind of like the tsunami effect, where it just takes, washes out everything and then brings it back out. Like, it's just, there's a real, there's an analogy around the whole, this progress has to happen. It may not be if you focus in on one thing, on what progress is, it looks like unfair or unfortunate or whatever. But on the other side of this, when we're looking what it's highlighted, what it's created for us as technology, and how our lives have changed, it was kind of like the necessary evil that we needed to go through to get to another point that is going to create this utopia for us, right? So it's kind of, that's the way I see it. It's like, these are the steps that we have to take as humanity to get to the other side. Like, some of the sacrifices, astronauts will have to do to start populating life on Mars, right? Just similar sort of thing. There's a whole stack of costings that comes with progression. And, as we do that, right, it changes the perspective. You change the perspective, Rory, you change the perspective, you've solved the problem. For me, and if you see the problem, you change your perspective, and you can get a change the outcome, or the problem is solved.
Yeah, and I just wanted to show you this, like, as you're talking about that, it's like, well, like, what are the potential like downfalls of artificial intelligence? With the premise that we want to sustain human connection and harmony with each other, and also with nature, right? So again, this is the thing about technology. It will respond relative to the human that is creating the prompt. So depending on the belief systems and the values and everything else. So I'm like, how do I create a bomb? Like, it'll give you the way to do that. Like, I'm not saying that, but it's like, that's out there on the internet anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like, there are two sides to it. It's like, are we going to use this for good, and to promote this ecological existence where, your kids, my family, your family, we all get to live in harmony? Or like, are we going to use it for something else? And I think AI has already got these kind of inbuilt, but at the moment it's still pretty fresh, so it all comes down to, like, these things about, transparency and accountability, bias and premises, privacy concerns, ethical decision making. So this is ethics and morality comes down to human being. You know what I mean? So it's like, whatever you do, it's like, as long as it comes from the heart, as long as you're doing it for the good of humanity, or you're doing it to solve a problem, to make people's lives easier, to promote this connection between fathers and sons, so they can go spend more time surfing, or the dad can actually spend more time at home, so he can kiss his wife in the morning, and really develop the thing that's truly matters, which is like, all we need is food, water, shelter, and companionship and community. Like, there are basic needs. Everything above that, self-actualization, spiritual process, all that is kind of like extra. Like 90 or probably like 70% of the world doesn't even meet those basic needs, right? So, if people start using technology to solve that problem, wow, anything's kind of possible from there.
Well, I mean, if you look at it like that, I put into Gamma, the AI powered presentation about how fatherhood has evolved, right? What's the evolution of fatherhood? And it gave me this timeline of what the father roles had been, and it starts off pre-medieval, goes to goes through AD, and it talks about how we were like protectors, we were like hunters, and then we had to be then we got to a certain stage where we were like providers, and and then it gets the industrial revolution where we become educators and role models. But then it goes to kind of now, and it says we're back to the village. If AI can do all this work for us, then that frees up our time to get back to the campfires, to get back to the stories that only the family can do, because the family can't be replaced as an AI, right? So it's like that. It's like, we can see it moving, but it may be full circle. We may be seeing another full circle coming.
Yeah, and this is our responsibility for the future, is because the input is relative to the output. So like I did this the other day, and I'll just do this as an example. I'm like, what are the top 10 self-care principles, right? Now you got to understand that this is going off basically 2 years ago. or like
Yeah,
pre-pandemic.
2021, right? Yeah.
Right. So this answer is going to be based on the data up until that point. And, you know, I did this
Pandemic time, right?
yeah. So it's like mindfulness and presence. That's pretty cool. Health and nutrition, adequate steps, emotional regulation, healthy boundaries, connection and social support, you know, learning goals. So this is basically going through all the systematic reviews, all the data that's on the internet is coming up with this.
Yep.
And it's like I think I did this one the other day, top 10 self-care treatments, right? So I wrote treatments, not principles. And it was really interesting. The way I wrote it the other day, and the output that came back was we'll see this in a second. We'll let this guy stop. There's a lot of references there.
Yeah.
So treatments, top 10 self-care treatments. So it's actually aromatherapy is up there, yoga, you know, like a warm bath, journaling, you know, self-massage. But I actually did it the other day, and what was kind of interesting, I think it might have been on this one. What was this? Yeah, top most hundreds. Yeah, I was looking for top 100 most searched health questions on the internet. It was good, you know, when you're writing blogs, right? But I'll have to find it another time. But basically, it was like, yeah, what were like, you know, the best top 10 like self-care treatment modalities. And because of the way I asked it, it came up with ibuprofen, Panadol. It came up with something like antifungal cream and like this. And I was like, wow. Like it just gave me pharmaceutical medications, you know, for for self-care treatments. And I'm like that just blew me away, because I'm like, that was just such a smack in the face of where the world was at that time. You know, it wasn't talking about mindfulness. It wasn't talking about spending time in nature. It wasn't doing that. So like what my job is, and this is, I'm going to share this with people, is like the reason why I'm taking the book and I'm putting it online is because I feel like my job is to take all of that knowledge and basically create new input for the next output. So when people are searching for this type of stuff, they're like, wow, this kid spent 8 years of his life, he's living the message, you know, he's helped thousands of people, it's backed on all these other people that are doing the same thing as a community of it. And then what I do is like, there's my original kind of like content and creation, the heart, the passion, the, you know, 5 weeks sitting in a room content. Then there's like the collective, which is like other people who have a similar passion in maybe one of the different medicines, like the mind is medicine or food is medicine, spent 40 years just looking at the soil. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to grab you because you've got the actual human experience of this, and I'm going to share your information too. And then we got Dr. Ghost, who's the AI. So I can grab one of those guides, and I'm transparent about it. I'm like, yeah, this is written by Dr. Ghost. This is artificial intelligence. This is the collective consciousness on the internet. And this is a curation of like, you know, top 10 ways to lose weight or something, but it's coming from AI. And then it's like, well, here's the guy that's, you know, here's someone who's helped 10,000 people lose weight in 12 weeks. Here's what he used. And then people can have the information, they can see the parallels and kind of find a solution that works for them, or take it to one of the practitioners or one of the people they work with. Like, oh, hey, like, you know, I know you notice you've been, you know, getting me to do like a carnivore diet. Why aren't we doing intermittent fasting? Why aren't we cutting out sugar? Like, why am I still drinking alcohol? You know, and that's
monitoring my sleep and
why is we're not monitoring sleep? It's like, why haven't you talked about my relationship, my stress, or like my finances, my work? You know what I mean? It's like, it's saying all these things are important, but we haven't addressed those things. So you know what I mean?
No, I love it, Rory. I think this is a fantastic. I've let this call go a little bit longer than usual because I think it's such an important topic, and I think that, you know, you're the amazing ambassador for this space. You know, how you've incorporated, you know, yourself and, you know, the collaboration and the ghost. I think that's really, really key to success in this. But I really want to have you back, and I want you to, you know, come back with something else, and whatever we want to, whenever you feel like you want to come back and have a chat about something that you've done, or even update what you're up to. You know, I really, you know, I love having these conversations, and I think that, you know, there's so much value that comes when you're on this platform and you're letting yourself show us what's happening in your brain and what you're pulling out. And, you know, and I think that's such an important thing for us as fathers, and empowering, you know, having this, you know, this this knowledge base that traverses back down the line to younger men and back up to the older guys that are relearning things, right? So it's the great equalizer, and I really appreciate your time, mate. So thank you so much, Rory. What so much information? What do you think about that? Wow.
Well, I hope people have got just like one tool, one app or whatever, but it's like also just know, like for the older generations, it's like there's like the millennials like me that, you know, we're like leading this space because it's like we're dancing between the two worlds. And like, you know, you asked me for more apps. I'm like, yeah, I've got things that transcribe like my entire podcast into, you know, into like the full
bullet points and getting
bullet points, and I can put that on like, whereas that would have taken someone like hours and hours and hours like before, and like a lot of money because it takes time, right? So just feel free to follow online, you know, go to selfcare.global or rorycallaghan.com.
Well, I think that when we do this father-son retreat and this pathway to manhood, I think that you're going to be such an amazing addition to that course, that when we run that course, we will have you as a guest speaker, and you'll come in and you'll do your thing, and you'll teach the young kids, you know, and they might even teach us some things as well.
Teach us, man. Trust me.
And then we'll do some epic stuff, like, you know, do some, you know, pathway to manhood stuff, and get them going on you know, reconnecting with us as guys, and you know, letting our beauty or our essence come into them, and then their essence coming to us, and we'll have some rite of passage and all that sort of cool stuff that kids don't have, that we want to put their hands up. So I'm looking at you for that, Rory. I'm looking at you to come and do this stuff, right? And I know you're building a retreat down in Uluwatu, and I want to be a part of that, and we might even be able to bring some people to that. But, you know, we want to really get this thing moving, because I know that, you know, time for me, it's all about, you know, it's all about timing. That's my niche, my specialty. That's why I'm saying I'm the AI guy now, because I know the timing's right. So that's where yours is lifestyle medicine. Mine is about timing and understanding that we need to talk about AI and bringing that into commonplace for everyone that's out there, so we can support men and especially young boys to become, you know, awesome, you know, people, but also great fathers and husbands, and, you know. So so Rory, I'm going to jump into this presentation. You can stick around. I'm just going to finish this presentation off, and then we'll wrap it up.
Can I just add one point just before you jump into that? Was like, I think, you know, you talked about creating this like father-son experience, you know, where the fathers and sons, like if you've got like you know, an introverted child that plays a lot of games, you know, I've met 18-year-old kids over here with $4 million automated YouTube channels. So it's like, if you actually can take this like passion, like, I love playing football and sport and the human body, but if you've got kids out there that are a bit more tech-based, a bit like yourself, you know, you're more introverted, like you're more, like you love that, but you come out into the social space a bit, but you love, you know, this kind of world, then it's actually a really good opportunity to connect with your kids. And it's a really good opportunity, like me working with like my 19-year-old buddy, Cam. And it's like, if I had like been like, oh yeah, I'm going to go like take on this other marketing guy, I would have lost a bucket load of money. If I just listened to this 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid who's getting better results, and then basically create a safe container to be like, okay, cool. What do you know? Like, let's upskill you in those certain areas. And if you've got a father, son, or a family business, like your son can potentially come in and add so much value beyond what you're doing. If it's like a brick and mortar business, like building, construction, my brother's an electrician. It's like, you know, I can see myself coming into his business, be like, yeah, dude, you got to use this, use this for the payment systems, use this for this, blah, 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 blah. I could probably save him $50,000 a year if he'd be open to having that conversation. So I see how this experience you're creating is something where fathers and sons can bond, and then they can also have a human experience and like have a bit of fun too. But then also they can actually create a connection point over something like technology and AI, even if the father isn't like, I don't care for that stuff, but the kid's like, man, I really love that stuff. There's polarity. That's the most beautiful partnership in my life. And also the mum's probably going to be pretty stoked, because realistically they're the ones that are like seeing the dad working too much and the kids spending more time, you know, behind the computer, and be like, well, how do I connect these two worlds? So maybe this might be an opportunity to do that and create some human connection, which is the key to longevity and lasting relationships.
Yeah, love it, Rory. I think you just articulated that perfectly. And with this, you know, the child can help the father find time to spend more time to do things that he wants to do, and the father can spend some time, because within kids, you know, love is spelt time, right? So, you know, they just want time with you. So it's kind of like it's a win-win. We're creating a beautiful synergy. it's a beautiful thing that we can, this vision is such a beautiful vision, and we're about bringing it to the fruition where people can actually come and experience that and have that, have that pathway before they even get to, the challenges and all that sort of stuff. So I see that the business side is so important, but I really want to get back to this, connection with your father, understanding, I know you said that you didn't have much connection with your father, and I am the same, mate. I had a similar experience to you where I was disconnected from my dad for a long time. So, I think, it's part of, my journey to share that part as well. And I think that's probably why we synergize a bit on this as well, because we're both wanting to give back to the process that we've been through. So, lots of gratitude, mate. And, take my hat off to you, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing your amazing expertise on this subject.
Yeah, and put it this way, I couldn't have done what I did in the facilitation if I didn't have someone like you behind the camera and setting up all the tech and the systems, so it's always the synergy. It doesn't matter what the generation is. It's like your expertise allowed me to just get on stage, the Genius U platform and everything that we used, that was the education, the background. And it's like it enabled me just to be present and in that space with the people to actually create the real change, which is those deep conversations and different questions from different angles, so that we can actually, create a really beautiful experience and move people towards where they want to go in business, in life, in health, in relationships. So I just wanted to take my hat off to you as well, man. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without people like you as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Rory. It's it's mutual, mate. It's mutual respect right there. All right, I'm going to jump back into this presentation so we can finish this call off, because we've been, we're going a little bit over time. So I want to just finish this off. Rory, I've done a little bit of research here. I've looked at some AI and lifestyle medicine revolutioning the health and wellness industry. These are the points, optimized health. I think Rory's basically been through this, sleep improvement, stress management, activity training, tracking, and all that sort of stuff. So you can track your own, this is how AI can emphasize, accentuate your experience in your journey. And then also, these are the top 4 apps that I've seen that the internet is telling me that you should be looking at if you want. So there's your homework for this week. Anybody that wants to have a look, I'm going to post this PDF onto the and share some links into the Evolution of Fatherhood Facebook page, and you'll be able to research yourself, have a bit of a play around with nitrogenomics and Noom, Sleep Cycle, and Calm. So I just wanted to bring those 4 apps for your way. And also I want to put out there that we have this AI upskilling online retreat happening on the 4th and 5th of September, 3 p.m. Singapore. This is a 2-hour 2 days. We'll go in deep with AI cybersecurity. We'll go into entrepreneurship and startups. Tell you how I just started up a whole, travel agency business from scratch using all AI tools. Just, multiplying my ability to do stuff with AI. Panels, discussions, and networking opportunities. I think we'll invite Rory back to do some of this stuff, because I think he's got really good information, because he's on the ground and he's adapting and he's using stuff to do this as well. So maybe we'll get him back in to do some of that stuff with us, and we'll talk about future trends and predictions for the upskilling summit, right? So the AI upskilling summit, 4th and 5th of September. The next thing is we have on the 29th of October and to the 5th of November, we have the father-son Bali retreat, which is all about pathway to manhood, and how when you come, you'll be able to bring your sons, and we'll do some epic stuff. We'll do 2.5 days of workshops, and we'll do like an epic adventure as well. So if you want to know more information about that, just send me a personal message, or just post in the chat on the Facebook group or in LinkedIn, and we'll go from there. But it's we'll be looking forward to this, and I think that Rory, this is what I was telling you about, right? Is how we will create this space for our young men.
Awesome.
And it's such an important part of why we do what we do. And I've always said this from the beginning. While people are getting value from what I'm doing, I'm going to keep doing it, right? The moment I feel like there's no value being there, I'll stop doing it. But at the moment, I'm seeing this so much synergy happening around me, and people showing up and wanting to be a part of this. So I'm full steam ahead. Next week, Rory, we've got guest Steven Zeta, who is the head chef of the Hyatt He's the head chef designer for all the Hyatt Indonesia. So he's coming in and he's doing the culinary AI in the culinary arts. So he's talking about how, and he talks about why you should have one signature dish. Every person, every man and boy should have their one signature dish for their whole life, right? And it's like, and he talks about why that's so important. Then we've got Mr. Andrew Eggleton, who is all about training TEDx speakers to be their authentic self on the stage and being in front of the camera and stuff. So he's using AI now to be able to, help people present their most authentic self on stage. So that's going to be a great call next week. So from me to you, Rory, much gratitude. For everyone out there, thank you for joining me. Reach out with a DM. Tell us what you're up to, what you want to look at next week. Maybe there's some tech that you want us to, research and have a look at for you. Or might be some help you need with some tech. Just DM us and let us know. And we look forward to catching up with you next week.
Awesome. That looks awesome, Shane. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure, mate. My pleasure. All right. Oh, yeah.